Hello and welcome to an on-the-fly edition of Planet Waves TV. My name is Eric Francis Coppolino, the host of Planet Waves FM, and also the editor of PlanetWaves.net and the sole author of the Planet Waves horoscope. Here with an on-the-fly edition of Planet Waves TV on the occasion of the sun entering the sign Scorpio, which happened or happens at about 7 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time on Thursday night, the 22nd of October. One thing I can promise you, after a couple of readings and evaluation of these charts and considering the kinds of things that happen during the time the sun's transit is through Scorpio, it is going to be a lot different on for the beginning of this and on the end of this. In other words, the ingress into Scorpio is tonight, and then on the 22nd or so is the ingress into Sagittarius, and it's one of those things where it's really going to be a before and after moment, not the least of which is the fact that the election is supposed to end on the 3rd of November. This happens with the sun in Scorpio. U.S. election always happens with the sun in Scorpio. Don't know exactly why that was done. There's all kinds of speculation that it was some Masonic stuff, and secret knowledge was put into the so forth. You get what I'm trying to say here. Speaking of secret knowledge, my article tonight is on the nuances of the sign Scorpio, including a discussion of this tarot card, the Death card, conceived by Aleister Crowley and painted by the Lady Frida Harris, who does not get as much credit as she deserves as being a contributor to 20th century occult studies. She painted this series of 78 cards over the course of 5 years. Many of the cards were done 2, 3, 4, and even more times. The deck used to come with 3 different versions of the Magician. Those of you who are old folks remember getting it. And the only deck to come with multiple versions of a card. It would sure be fun to have the rest of those. I don't know if they have ever seen the light of day. A quick anecdote. When I was staying in London for a while, living in Jonathan Caner's pad back in 2004, all kinds of people came out of the woodwork to greet me and welcome me in London, where I had my first big breaks, a series of them as an astrologer and as a horoscope writer. That's a great compliment. It's like being an American rock band and finding suddenly that people are taking an interest in your work in London. I mean, that was great. So, and one of them took me to a building. We couldn't go in, but we stood across the street and looked up at it, and he said, "That's the place where these paintings are." So we stood there for a while and paid homage to this fact. So I begin my article tonight with a discussion of this most remarkable rendition of the Death card. There's a lot of cool Death cards. Of course, the Death card is about endings and transformations and rebirth and growth, and is something of a central concept in the tarot and in our existence. It references all things Scorpio, and there's a lot of interesting things about the Thoth Tarot and also this card, but one of them is that the Thoth Tarot was the first tarot deck to put the signs of the zodiac associated with cards, and also the Hebrew letter relating to the path on the Kabbalah. That's the topic of another video, but the pathway on the Tree of Life, where you can find the kind of underlying information about the card. The Tree of Life is a series of dots, basically, and each major arcana card gets a connection between 2 dots, and that tells you a lot about what the card is about. So he gives you that. He gives you the sign the zodiac, and then a lot of different symbols of what what Scorpio is about. A very complex card. Here, of course, is the scorpion, and then there is the serpent, and there's a fish with the serpent's tail in his mouth, and then there is an eagle at the head of the figure of personification of death. And the figure is wearing the cap of invisibility. That is a thing that Pluto is known to wear. You'd have to know that to know that's part of esoteric studies, but it's not that hard to find out. I mean, unlike a lot of things in esoteric scholarship, it's quite easy to find out things associated with classical mythology. Then, though, here's the really interesting thing: this feature in the card, this double helix shape, which is a magnificent personification or symbolization of the death card, meaning the cycle of all these humans coming down the generations with little ghosties drawn in there. That's us in there, and then we've woven into the double helix symbol, except for one thing. The artwork on this card was finished in 1943, and it wasn't until 1953 that the discoverers of the double helix figured out the shape of the DNA molecule. So you might think, maybe Crowley had a little bit of an inside line. Maybe he was aware of what was going on in science at the time, or who knows? Maybe the discoverers of the double helix got the idea from Crowley, or I mean, it's unlikely that he met these guys, and it's unlikely that they got the idea from a tarot card, which, by the way, was not published at the time, so that rules that out. This wasn't published till '69, but in a way that is somewhat humorously typical of the esoteric arts, the esotericists, the occultists, right, the spooky people figured it out before science did, and I think that's just great fun. And it would mean less if there was not such a close relationship between everything that the double helix represents, which is the genetic code being passed down the generations, going all the way back to before the beginning. And Scorpio, it might mean less, but in tarot, the entire language is visual, and so by some miracle or just wisdom and scholarship, the Lady Frida and the Master Therion, Aleister Crowley, the evilest man on earth, figured it out. And there you have it. Take one good look, and now you know that the double helix predicts it. The discovery. This will be in an article called Scorpio and the Genome, which you can read on planetwaves.net at the time that you're seeing it. The introduction of the piece is already up. We're going to send it to our subscribers first before we place it on the web. Okay, so now for the chart. Second here. Play with the lighting here, my high-tech light system. Okay, here's the chart for the Scorpio ingress. This is quite a lively chart. It is just slightly ominous, but it is a chart that is kind of spring-loaded. I mean, it is packed with a lot of energy. First of all, the very basics are: here is the sun. Here is the sun. About to enter Scorpio, or having entered Scorpio. Here is Mercury, which is retrograde in degree 7 of Scorpio. 6 and 16 equals 7 because it's occupying degree number 7. That's how you count it. And there is soon about to be a conjunction of Mercury and the Sun in Scorpio. That is the half-time moment in Mercury retrograde. And then Mercury retrogrades into Libra during the time of the Sun's passage through the it's a very hot and muggy day here. Through the time of the Sun's passage through Scorpio, and so that's all included in the Scorpio story. Even though Mercury enters Libra, it stations direct on the day that the U.S. election is supposed to end. Talked about this last time, talked about it in a couple of articles that are easy to find on planetwaves.net, right on the front page. This is going to be a very exciting clusterfuck of events associated with the election, which is supposed to end on that day. It doesn't look like it's going to do too much ending on the 3rd. It looks like it's kind of be suspended in like a fly in amber for a while until the various disputes are resolved. This is one of those highly contentious elections where both sides think the other side is Satan incarnate. But neither Biden nor Trump are the evilest man on earth. That was reserved for Aleister Crowley. Nobody else can have that role anymore. So, sorry guys. All right. So back to this chart. So among the interesting things that happens during the sun's passage through Scorpio is that there's a Mercury-Sun conjunction first, and then Mercury stations direct. When a retrograde planet stations direct, especially Mercury, there can be like this dump of information, this release of data, and concealed information can come to light. That is if not a prediction, a reasonable expectation of what is going to go on during this time. It's going to be very, very exciting, it helps if you're not wrapped up in who wins. And I do have a preference in this, but I'm not wrapped up in who wins, and I'm not making any predictions about who is going to win. But we are going to learn a lot on the 3rd, on Election Day. A lot is going to come out in the wash. Then the next big thing that happens is that, whoopsie daisy. Here it is. Good. There's Mr. Jupiter. There's Ms. Pallas Athene. There's Jupiter, and there is Pluto. The three of these align and form a conjunction on the 12th of November. About how many? 24 days from now, 3 weeks from now. So there's going to be the third of 3 conjunctions because of the Jupiter retrograde. Jupiter went over Pluto, back over Pluto retrograde. Now it's going to go back over Pluto in direct motion, where it's going to form a conjunction with Saturn in the 1st degree of Aquarius on the 21st. But the exciting thing about the conjunction of Jupiter and Pluto on the 12th is that it happens the day before Mars stations direct in Aries. And so there is something of a huge drama scene associated with the election on the 3rd. That'll drag out for a little while. There'll be all kinds of name calling and pissing matches, and things will go to court, and who knows, maybe even go to the Supreme Court again like they did in 2000. 2000, by the way, was the last time that Mercury stationed direct on Election Day. It did station direct in Libra, in the very last degree of Libra. So that was especially precarious and exciting, though in this situation, the involvement of the asteroid Pallas Athene adds to the theme of political intrigue, and then so that kind of drags on for a while. Then the next big turning point is the conjunction of Jupiter, Pluto, and Pallas Athene. Anything with Pallas Athene in it is political or politicized or subject to political analysis. And lots of things happening this year have Pallas Athene in the picture. And then Mars goes direct. And so there's a big release around the 12th or the 13th. And things start to move very fast. And one thing I can say is that a lot of things that feel unresolved today, on the 22nd of October, when the sun is about to go into, I'm recording a little bit before at 5:12 p.m., a little bit before, that seem unresolved and pending are going to suddenly come loose with the 2 stations direct, first of Mercury, and then of Mars. So it's a little like a slingshot. Pull it all the way back and let go. Goes flying. Okay, so now the world is being held in suspense over this COVID issue. And one thing I can say about that is that everything we think we know about this thing, which I won't say the name again lest I get picked up by YouTube and censored, because they're liking to censor a lot of people who are saying things worth hearing. Is that right now everything is being shot through this polarizing filter of the election, as if a virus could have a political party, as if it was possible to have a Republican interpretation of events and a Democratic interpretation of events, and just for expressing a certain type of opinion about this mysterious CV-19 thing, you can be ascribed to be in one camp or another. It turns out that my camp, whatever that is, would seem to have more in common with the Republican position, which is kind of funny because I don't really have anything in common with the Republican position. I'm just a person obsessed with uncovering scientific fraud, but not so obsessed that I go looking for it. See, my stories have to find me. I promise you, I never go looking for a story. I'm never lacking for one when I want one. There's a room over there with a couple of really nice amps and a bunch of electric guitars and a little jar of pot. And I would much rather hang out there than have to be up till 3 o'clock in the morning uncovering scientific fraud. But when such an opportunity presents itself and I am tapped on the shoulder, like a member of whatever that club is, I respond and I do my thing. So me and, as you know, a bunch of people I love and trust and have had such a good time working with have been uncovering all kinds of shit. And right now, speaking of shit, this whole story is really 100 pounds of shit in a 50-pound sack, and it is waiting to burst. Today, the BBC did a story on why the test doesn't work, why the test is not valid. Like the New York Times writer tried to claim in the August 28th or 29th article that you can find on the Planet Waves FM tab on planetwaves.net, the BBC tried to claim that the people who were testing positive but were no longer infected, actually were infected at some time in the past, but there's absolutely no proof of that. What we do know is that this polymerase chain reaction test, invented by a guy named Kary Mullis, who I wish I had met, picks up all kinds of things and calls them positives. But in any event, the word is getting out that 95% of these things that are called confirmed cases, confirmed only by the polymerase chain reaction, not by symptoms, not by contact tracing, not by some other confirmatory test. No, just a thing up your nose with a rubber hose. If you have crud, you're a confirmed case. No, you have no symptoms. Nothing's wrong. You feel fine. You could climb Mount Everest and climb back and never know that you had any of these alleged DNA fragments. That 95% of these are false positives, completely irrelevant. This now, after being kicked around in the alternative press like a soccer ball, I am happy to say that I'm one of the people who has participated in that, as has John Rappaport at the blog No More Fake News, as has Celia Farber at Undercover DC, as has the Off Guardian in England, as have a number of other people have been really devoted to figuring out the problems with the polymerase chain reaction, which are documented back to the 1990s by Celia Farber, CELIA-FARBER, my twin soul investigative reporter, who was doing the AIDS story in the 1990s and essentially proved that the PCR was bullshit in the 1990s. Then the New York Times did a story in 2007 after a false outbreak of pertussis, whooping cough, at the Dartmouth Hitchcock Medical School, was proven to be false. 146 confirmed cases, grand total of 0 zero, not one, zero actual cases published in the New York Times in 2007. And then the whole thing goes to sleep. And then warnings issued in all the literature in 2007. CDC gives a warning. New York Times gives a warning. Dartmouth Hitchcock Medical School gives a warning. All kinds of epidemiologists are on to the issue, warning about it. Skip ahead 13 years, and suddenly the entire pandemic is being proven to exist using the polymerase chain reaction test. Now, I am not saying anything else by saying this. I am not saying people have not gotten sick. A lot of sick people in the world. I'm not saying people haven't died. In the United States, 3,000 to 4,000 people die every day. No, I'm not saying any of that. What I am saying is that by 2007, the entire world of virology and epidemiology was on notice that the polymerase chain reaction was, in effect, a work of fiction. And the world was warned about this by everyone. Quotes in the article. All this is on the Planet Waves FM tab on planetwaves.net. You can scroll down. I give this presentation once a week. This is approximately like 20 or 30th time of giving this talk. Everything is documented in the mainstream world of medicine and science in 2007, and then everyone forgets. And then in 2020, suddenly polymerase chain reaction is being used to prove this incredible scale of this spanning every single country and hundreds of thousands of positive tests a day. And no one remembers that in the 90s and in 2007, we were all on notice that this thing can turn zero cases into an outbreak? The fuck is going on? So finally, the New York Times did the story in August. I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe it. They admit it, but they don't change their method of counting cases. They admit the problem. They admit they've got a problem with up to 90% false positives. And right on the same page is like, 50,000 people tested positive. Well, yeah, shit, piss, and vinegar. If they actually read their own article that was just one link above it, they would realize maybe that's 5,000 cases or 2,000 or none. Just saying. So now the BBC redid the story today, Thursday. We'll link to that on COVID-19 News on Planet Waves FM. And personally, I think we're going to see a lot of revelations about the way that this whole virus situation has been overblown and propped up with lies. It might make you angry to hear me say that. You might think I'm in denial of something. I assure you I am in denial of absolutely nothing. I am listening to every side of this story. And I am making my own independent evaluation of the facts with many intelligent people providing me with both information and analysis and many years of covering and unraveling science fraud. And notably, I am generally on, just by default, on the side of the government is lying and understating the issue, and have to dig that side out when it becomes obvious and establish that. And now, having gone into this, I would say absolutely objectively, if you look at my first video, scroll back to February and you'll see my first video on COVID. You tell me if I'm not looking at this in an objective and understated way, expressing sympathy for the arduous task ahead for public health officials and explaining why they're so concerned. I'm worried about them. I was concerned that they were going to have this big task on their hand. Then the lockdown happened, and then suddenly I'm in this position where I've got to figure it out. The whole thing was a complete monolith at first. And one by one, I broke this down into 19 issues. And issue number 1 is the test. I said it right to my staff. I said, this story is going to come down to the test one way or the other. There are a number of other important angles, the origins, the way that the test codes were written without patient samples, the problem, again, a test story, several other angles on the origin story, and then this absolutely absurd concept of creating a vaccine for a virus that the federal government admits has not been isolated and purified. Someone tell me how they're making a vaccine against a virus that they don't have. Federal government says that they don't have it. I don't know. I don't believe them. I don't believe them. I believe they don't have it because we know they don't have it. They finally had to admit that. We knew that many other ways. But as far as making a vaccine and they want to inject 300,000 Americans and 7 billion people on the planet for a virus they have not isolated and purified, where the whole thing is propped up by a test that's getting 90 to 95% false positives. You got to fucking be kidding me. You got to be kidding me. And it is this stupid. I mean, I understand a lot of people are like deeply concerned and troubled and walking around wearing masks with a very serious look on their face and maintaining 6 feet of social distance and worried about killing grandma and all that stuff. I'm telling you that this is 100 pounds of shit in a 50-pound sack, and that sack is going to burst. And right now, what the powers that be are trying to figure out is what the hell to do about it. What are they going to say? Especially when it's published yet again that the New York Times had this story in 2007. Okay, so happy sun ingressing Scorpio, which now happens in 1 hour and 36 minutes from the time I'm going to click the stop button. Thank you to my amazing team for helping me keep my life and my journalism and my website together, and Anatoly for processing this video late at night in the Ukraine. Don't forget to check out planetwaves.net. Please click like. Please subscribe to this channel to push me up a little bit in the brutal algorithm of Alphabet Incorporated. Thanks for watching, and bye for now.